Avon about 5 years ago. I was in a job as an executive secretary for a nonprofit preschool. And I was not happy there. There was a lot of changes going on, and they were the vibe I got was they were trying to phase out my job. So I was like, well, like I just wasn't happy. So I had been buying a lot of Avon from the person who signed me up, and she convinced me that I should just become a seller, become a rep. And so it took me about a month and a half to really just jump in and be like, yes, this is what I want to do. And the week after I did that, I was fired from my job. I had been there for 5 years, and I kind of felt defeated and stuff. So the Avon business, like it has really built me up confidence wise, and starting with, that I was able to actually go out and meet strangers, not just my friends and family that will, help me out by buying some products from me. From there, one of our family's dreams from when I have a 16-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old son. And, well, not me, my husband and I always get corrected on that. My husband, I'll introduce him. This is my son. He goes, our son. And I'm like, I'm sorry, yeah. So my husband and I, we've been married it'll be 18 years this year. We have 2 children together. We have a 16-year-old daughter, a 14-year-old son. When I gave birth to my son.
You can say that, right?
That one I can claim. We had talked about possibly becoming foster parents. We had seen a lot of stories in the news. My great-grandmother, God rest her soul, she was 99 when she passed, but she had fostered over the years 450 boys. Just boys.
Oh, wow.
Girls are too difficult. So, and that was here in the Youngstown area that she had done that. From the time that my mom was like a little girl, she remembered my great-grandmother always having boys, like, in the house that she was fostering. And I was always, she wasn't doing it by the time I was a youth. The foster kids that she had like were adults and almost like my uncle, like an uncle to me. And there are still some that we do invite to our family functions when we have things together, that they're still a part of our family, even though they're not blood related.
Right.
It was something that like always spoke to me, and my husband and I had talked about it over the years, like 14 years ago. And like, it was a little hectic with a newborn and a 2-year-old to think about taking on any more kids. So once I started with Avon, I had lost my job. Like it was something that we revisited, going, is this something that we could possibly bring back in? And after having a year of Avon under my belt, and Lisa Scola helping me out, it really, like, it gave me the confidence to say, yes, yeah, we can do this. Avon's going to be able to, like, let me stay at home. I won't have to worry about telling my boss, I'm sorry, we just got a new placement. They're not 6 weeks old yet. They can't go into daycare. I'm going to have to take a couple weeks off, that kind of thing. A lot of bosses would really frown upon that.
Right.
So, for instance, the one child we got, he was 3 months old. He would have been able to go into daycare right away, but he came to us with 10 broken bones. At 3 months old. His mother didn't like the fact that he cried so much, and admitted to repeatedly punching him in the ribs and throwing him into a pack and play. He had 7 broken ribs, 2 broken tibias, and a broken femur. And so the stories that we have and everything, they're gut wrenching. They really are. But we've had, over the last 4 years of being a foster family, we've had 13 placements. The first placement that we got, he was 8 weeks old, and Landon was with us for 19 months, and then he was placed up for adoption. We had the option of adopting him, but he had a half brother that had just been adopted by a family down in Texas. And I just had this feeling that that's where he needed to be, is with them. And they had been in contact with us. They had, shown interest. They wanted to be part of his life. They'd even flown up from Texas to meet him and everything while he was in our care. And the boys really had a bond, even though they had really never met. So I really pushed for her to pray about it, and they did end up adopting him. Landon is now 4 years old. He just had a birthday in May, and he's doing amazing in Texas. So
that's a happy ending too.
Oh my gosh, yes.
No,
absolutely. Yeah, yes, it is a happy ending. He is where he needs to be. He is thriving there. They have a wonderful family that he is with, and we still get to FaceTime with him. We send him birthday presents and Christmas presents, and his brothers, because he's got his half brother with him, and then he has like the family's birth son that with him. So he's got 2 big brothers with him, and he's thriving. The child that we have now, Emma, she's we got her in January. She's leaving us actually in 2 weeks, and she is going to Alaska.
Oh wow.
So I send them far away, apparently. So those ones are the hard ones when they actually start talking, and because Landon was 22 months when he left us. Emma's going to be 23. She'll almost be 2 years old when she leaves us, and I'm mama.
Do you have times where, and then I know we don't have a lot of time, where mom and dad like get their life together and they go back to the parents? Have you had that?
We have, yeah. We do a lot of emergency placements. So like after hours of the agency, if there's a child that needs to come into care or whatever, we'll have them for 12 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours, just so that they can, not 12 hours, 24 to 48 hours to see, like, so that they can investigate the situation and see if it was really warranted, or if there's another family member that'll end up taking them as well. We did have a child that we had for 6 weeks, and it was basically just neglect. The house was in disarray and not suitable and safe for a child. And so Glenn came into our care for 6 weeks. The parents ended up cleaning up the house, and they went to court to end up getting the child back, and he went back, and they've been fine. And I sneak on Facebook, like I kind of spy on Facebook on the parents to see like how they're doing and stuff. They weren't real receptive over the fact that we had their son. Some of the parents, like, they understand that they were the ones that messed up. These ones didn't feel that way. But for the most part, we try and keep a open communication with the parents after the kids go back into their care, just because, no matter how short of a time that they've been with us, they steal a part of our heart, and we just want to keep checking on our hearts. So,
Vicki, I have friends who foster, and in fact, one couple has adopted 8 children out of foster care.
See, that would be me. I would be dying. Yeah.
No. But anyway, I know how, not through my own experience, but through theirs, how gut-wrenching having to say goodbye to children who you have nurtured and raised for so many months during those really critical months when they're that young, and how they bond with you and you bond with them. But at the same time, you keep going. You go on to the next child, and many times knowing maybe that your heart's going to be broken again. So what is it that drives you? Yeah, I'm sorry. What is it that drives you, Vicki, to continue?
I think the success stories, like our first one, I think that it was, I mean, it's bittersweet because I miss him like crazy, but he's thriving and we had a part in that. We gave him the start that he needed. And I think that's why we keep going. I don't know how I would be a billionaire if I had money every time somebody said I couldn't do what you do.
Yeah.
And I just, a lot of it is my faith. Everybody asks, like, how do you get through it? And I'm like, because I know this is what I was called to do. And I couldn't have done it without being an Avon rep and building that business up, because I wouldn't, like, there's no boss out there that's going to end up letting you, like, take the time to really care for the child the way that they need to be, because they're coming to you traumatized. The classes that we have to take continuing education classes. We have to take 40 hours in 2 years. The classes that we take and the horror stories that I hear and how they try and educate us as foster parents as to what these kids are feeling and going through and why we might end up with a troubled child and behavior issues and things like that. I want to be that. I want to be that good start for that child. My mom's side of the family, my mom was the white sheep in her family. Most of her family is habitual welfare users. They never tried to finish high school. They never tried to go on to college. They never really tried to better themselves. They always felt like, you know, the system was there to take care of them. And I just saw, like, my cousins who were my age growing up, we did some things together, and then, like, as we got older, they didn't have the same upbringing. Their mom wasn't involved in their life. They let them go out and become teenage moms, and then those kids had they were teenage parents as well. And I just felt like I didn't want that for these kids. They needed somebody to actually care for them, show them that they were loved, that they had a purpose in life, and that they had a story to tell in the world that people needed to hear. And I give those kids the confidence. And yeah, they're only like 2 years old. They don't really get it, but I feel that that's what I'm trying to end up doing with them, is to make sure that they're not repeating what their parents had done.
Right, which you've seen in your own family.
Yeah, I've seen it in my own family.
So the stories that we're telling are of representatives who've had challenges or struggles and who have used Avon to tackle those challenges or have a positive outcome like what you've had. And it sounds like the first part of that story is not only seeing your great-grandmother have such an impact on 400 boys. I thought 3 boys in the house was a lot. Not at one time, I'm sure, but
oh golly, no, over years.
Over the years. So seeing her example of having made that difference, but also the example of folks in your family, folks you were close to, cousins who did carry on that family culture, that culture that they were raised in of being dependent on the system and feeling like that's okay. So kind of a twofold influence at the beginning, but also your heart was leading you in this direction. And as a result of your commitment to your Avon business, nothing was handed to you, but it gave you the opportunity to not only create a business, but also to fulfill this mission that you felt called to do. Can you tell us a little bit about your biological children and how this has affected them?
I think it's been a great experience for the kids. It hasn't, obviously, you know, as you know, with your friends and how gut-wrenching it can be when a child leaves. The first one was exceptionally hard. My son, at the time, he was 10 years old when we became foster family. And they, it was a year-long process to be licensed as a foster family. And during that time, like they come in and they interview everybody in the house.
Right.
My 10-year-old son made it very clear that he was not wanting this. And when they asked him what, and I'm like, they were like, JT, because his name was Joshua Thomas. We called him JT from the time he was a baby. And they asked JT, you know, like, why do you feel this way? And he goes, well, everybody wants to do it and I don't want to do it, but I guess my opinion doesn't matter. And they're like, what? And I'm like, shut up. Like, what are you doing? Shut up. You're going to blow it for us. He's like, he goes, I don't want to share my mom. I don't want to share my toys. I don't want to share anything. And they're like, okay, well, what if, you know, your mom can, you know, make sure that none of that happens? He goes, well, I'll try it. So the first 24 hours that we had Landon, he was crying a lot. We were up like all night long with him. Just so happened we were also setting up a 5-family garage sale that weekend too. So I'm out in the garage after not sleeping at all. And the baby Landon's in his stroller and GT comes over to him and he's like making googly faces at him and Landon smiles at him. And that sold it. JT was like, Mom, he smiled at me. I'm the first one he smiled at. When can we get another one? And I'm like exhausted. I'm like, pump your brakes, dude. One at a time. And that's always been our family. We have not taken more than one at a time. Well, I take that. We have tried to take more than one at a time. And it's just overwhelming for those kids and for me because my husband works, the kids are at school, and I'm like, no, this is not what these kids need. This is not what I need. I don't need to be stressed over this. So we just do one child at a time so that they get all the attention that they really need. The kids, when Landon left, JT, he's high functioning Asperger's. So it was a little more difficult for him than my daughter. My daughter just kind of dove into her interests of drama and band and music and things like that. She just dove into that and relied on her friends to help her get through. My son, being high functioning autism, he doesn't have a lot of friends. He relies on YouTube and video games and stuff like that. So it was a little more difficult for him to get through, but we got him set up with a counselor so that he could end up, they could figure out better ways for him to express his feelings and stuff like that. So
it sounds like, though, it's given him the ability to connect with these young children that you have in the house in a way that's different from maybe his peers.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really opened the kids' eyes to what's out there in the world. We live in a suburban area that's, you know, we're almost considered poor compared to some of the other families in the area. So we we don't really have a lot of, like, they see a lot of, you know, richer kids and what they have and stuff. And my children get to see these kids that come into our house with absolutely, I mean, nothing clothes on their back. That's it. I mean, they have nothing. They're not allowed to bring anything with them. And some of them that are allowed, it's brought in a garbage bag. That's what they're allowed. And it's just, it opens their eyes to see that, you know, there are children that are worse off than them, and we've always made sure that we had children that were younger than ours so that our children could be a positive influence on them. So it's teaching them to be role models as well. This is how you should act. This is how, so when we're teaching the kids to speak and stuff like that, they're teaching the kids manners, which they have to end up using their manners as well, so that these kids get it. So it's been very eye-opening for them, but I think they've learned a lot of responsibility. My daughter has said that she never wants to have kids because she's it's awesome birth control for a 16-year-old girl.
I love it. Oh my goodness.
But
now,
I
Rebecca, you need the boys to date girls that have had foster children. Foster sisters and brothers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my.
Yeah. She's like, because I do not want to have, but she knows how to do everything. She's made bottles. She's changed diapers. She's given them baths. Yeah. She's gotten them to go to sleep. I mean, like, she could be a mom.
Yeah.
You know? So she's learning life skills as far as I'm concerned. So when she is ready to be a mom, because I know she'll be a mom.
Right.
But when she's ready, she's going to be an amazing mom. She's got the life skills and everything. So,
you know, it's in some schools, they teach the kids that how difficult it is to have a baby. You know, how they have to carry the sack of flour around or whatever it is. But she's learning that firsthand. So those are, you're right. That is good.
Yep. Great practice.
Abstinence training.
Yep.
Vicki, thank you so much for sharing today. This has just been great to get to know you better. And, you know, I just think on so many fronts, I'm strong in my faith too. And it's just amazing how God puts all those pieces together, you know, to help you go after what he's called you to do. So I'm encouraged. Rebecca and I have the greatest day because we're going to get to hear all kinds of these stories all day. We're going to wrap up all of our interviews early next week. And so I'll be circling back to, you know, close out and let you know how we'll use your story. So thank you again.
All right. Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right. Bye.